So the first trauma topic, I want rural isolation.
Brandon, I love your
Rural.
hair.
Now, and
Oh,
Brandon knows all about that, and
thank
I
you.
do too. But how do you feel?
I just,
Does my hair look okay? I can't tell.
Yeah, I went with the hat again, so that's how I feel about my
No,
hair
but just
today.
I really both of you. Does my hair look okay? Is it all?
I, I could have worn. I don't wear hats very often, but it would be a lot easier, wouldn't it? Just to whoop.
Okay, so rural
Oh,
isolation.
rural.
Yes, rural isolation.
Oh,
How
oh, I
I'm
know
all
about
ears.
that.
I'm all ears, Brandon. I want to hear about it.
Well, I am in the middle of nowhere, so I'm certainly rurally isolated. Um, yeah, in some ways I like it because I'm kind of more of an introvert, and I like having space, and um it's very quiet. Country is very, very quiet except for the crickets and frogs and stuff, but um I kind of like being isolated, but it's also, if you take it to an extreme, like with me, I've had depression, and for a long time, and if I'm not careful, that isolation can um, exacerbate the depression. If I don't keep I'm pretty good now at monitoring and not allowing it to actually get into an actual depression episode, or episode, but you know what I'm saying, a depressive state. Um, I've learned over the years to recognize signs and things that might lead me into a depression, and I stop them before it happens. But yeah, for a while, being isolated did not help that kind of mentality. And well, especially like for the queer community, a rural area like this does not have much of a community to speak of. And I'm not on Facebook, it's social media, so there are probably groups on there. I don't know. I try to avoid a lot of social media. It's just
So
toxic
what?
sometimes.
So what I hear you saying is there's limited representation, and
Yeah.
that would be a byproduct of rural isolation. And then two, um, that causes a mental health strain.
Yeah.
Um,
It can.
it can't. Well, how could it not? Because you're talking about the inability to have community to support you. If you live in a rural environment, the only community support that you can get is three people talking on a Substack about trauma.
Yeah. I mean, I have to travel to go to find any kind of community. I have to go to Kansas City would be the closest
Right.
area, and even there's not. I mean, they have gay bars, drag bars, but yeah, I'm part of a meetup. You know, the app Meetup, where and there's an LGBTQ plus meetup uh, group, but it's not very active. And I've connected with a few people on there before, but it's just I don't know. For some reason, it's hard to get anybody to do anything to meet in that space. I don't know. I don't know if it's that way in other places, but around here at least, it seems very difficult.
That feels like cultural erasure to me. I mean, you yourself represent an aspect of culture. Being a queer person is a representation of that. And if you can't express that
Yeah.
because of that isolation, then that feels stifling. And it feels like there's a higher level of stigma that's attached to it. Would you say that's true?
Yeah. Yeah. Now, and it does help though to be on here. Oh, is Miranda saying?
Uh,
I,
sorry, I had myself muted.
I was gonna say,
Brandon, are you
I saw your lips moving,
are
but
you are you from a rural area, or do you just live in a rural area now?
yeah, I grew up not far. I mean, I grew up in basically in this area. Moved a couple times, but I've always kind of been, well, most of the time I've been in a rural area. So yeah, I grew up, so I'm very familiar with this area, this type of area.
Yeah,
See, I think the way to combat that at the rural level um, is to foster creative expression. You know, one of the things that happened here in Atlanta that people will, Sin might be old enough to remember this. I'm certainly old enough to remember this, but for a long time there was a area of Atlanta called Cabbage Town, and nobody liked to go down there. And so what happened was a larger body of the queer community in Atlanta moved into that neighborhood, and they gentrified all the houses, and it turned into this artsy district. You could drive through Cabbage Town, and all the houses were pretty, and there was art all over the place, and it became popular again, and people wanted to live there. And so, by fostering that creative expression locally, you can encourage. It takes longer; it's a slow process, but you could actually achieve that result if you had the ability to create expressively in a way that people could see. Um, but yeah, outside of that, establishing a community of people that you can connect with electronically and encourage those people. Now, I say that, and Sinmac literally lives like 2 miles down the road from me, and I've never met her yet. So,
Well, that's one thing that helps. Like if I didn't have um, Substack, Medium, writing stuff that I do, it would be much worse for me, I believe. I mean, I wouldn't have any connection or outlet to have that kind of expression. And yeah, I could see definitely falling back into depression without this kind of thing.
I would agree with that. I would agree with that. Miranda, I don't. Have you ever lived in a rural?
I I grew up in a small town.
Oh,
Um,
that's rural enough.
yeah, so I grew up in a small town in southern Oklahoma. It had um like 10 to 15,000 people somewhere in there.
Mm. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so it was um small town, very socially conservative place. Um, so
What about
the
did you have a preacher that went around to all of the kid hangouts and told all the kid hangouts that dancing was the work of the devil and couldn't dance. But maybe you had some guy who drove around in a VW bug and blasted the speakers out really loud. Okay, I'm not talking about an 80s movie. I'm literally just talking about.
Oh, we had plenty of preachers who would go around and condemn all of our behaviors. Um, yeah, so um, it was a lonely place to grow up. Um, the only trans person that I knew of in our town was probably like I think the first time I saw her, I was 7 or 8, and she was probably mid 30s to 40. Um, and I actually have a memoir piece on my page where I talk about like when I first met her.
Right.
Um, but like that's also where I learned anti-trans slurs for the first time because it was like I had this interaction with her at the laundromat one time that was very positive, and then the next time I saw her was when I was um, riding in a car with my childhood best friend, uh, aka the guy I tried to emulate masculinity from, um, and his dad. And so, like, we're driving through town, and she's walking along the sidewalk, and they're like, "Oh, that's one of those slur, 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 freak, slur, slur." Um, and so, as someone who felt like no one else in the world feels like I do, um, and then having this like one person I didn't really know, um, be thought of with such disregard really made me like internalize even more, um, and not want to share my feelings, not want to um, expose my true nature. Like it scared me
I
and made me feel lonely.
see. From my perspective, the area that I grew up in was very small, very confined, very much family only. And I did not, for instance, wasn't until I got to college that I actually met a person of color. First time in my life ever. I mean, I hadn't even really read about it. And so that's one of the reasons why in the bar stories I talk about Bubba because Bubba was really the first African American person I'd ever met in my life. And so I hold my experiences with him through college in very high regard. Um, and so I had never seen a gay person. I had never seen a trans person. I had never seen any other than white, cisgendered, heterosexual, heteronormative people.
Yeah,
Despite going all through my childhood with bouts of cross dressing and feminine emulation and everything else. Now, of course, the downtractor to that is that doing those things meant that I would get beaten and abused, and I would suffer from not things that we want to ever talk about in this call weekly. We can, I don't want to. And so when faced with that for the first time, I was very puzzled by it. I was like, okay, that's fucked up. But then over time, I started to just normalize it in my head. Of course, at the same time, there was a voice in the back of my fucking head that was like, hey, I've been back here and I keep telling you you're going to let me out, but you're not letting me out. And that's really stupid. And you need to fucking quit it. And whatever I could do to stifle that voice was what I did to deal with that situation, which wasn't great. It wasn't great at all, actually. So, when you grow
I
up
grew up in a.
in it. Oh, do what? No, please.
I was going to say I grew up in a similar kind of area where there were in my school. It was a very small school, and we had less than 5 people of color in the entire school. Anytime that I was, you know, from what I remember, from kindergarten through 12th grade. And so, yeah, we definitely did not have much diversity. But, and definitely no queer, gay, trans, I never saw anyone like that. Personally, I maybe in movies every once in a while or something, but I did. Oh, sorry.
No, I finished what you were saying. I have a question, and it relates. So,
I did, like, I grew up in kind of I had racist family members. My dad was racist. He would tell racist jokes and things like that. But for some reason, very early on, I knew that was wrong. And it's, it still kind of baffles me a little bit. Why? Like, I don't know if it was because I kind of resented my dad. And so I kind of resented anything that I was the opposite of whatever he was. Maybe that's why I took that route, but it's still kind of, I don't know. I still wonder about that. I'm so glad, that I didn't bond with him, because I feel like I probably would have taken on similar traits that he did, and I would not have wanted to turn out like that kind of person. And yeah, I don't know. I still don't know what it is exactly. I just remember very early knowing that was wrong and not wanting having anything to do with it. Anyway, what were you?
so my question then becomes this, which would have been the next thing that I would have talked about is, and this question goes to both of you. So, whichever you wants to answer first. My story about this is very, very fun, very, very, very fun, and you will laugh about it, but I'll save mine for the end. But the question then becomes, when was the first time that you were actually faced with queer culture, a queer person of any variety, that was a positive experience, and what did you do? I'll even tell you my story first. You'll laugh if you want to think about it.
So mine was in college. um, so my first year of college, I went to Oral Roberts University, which is a Christian university, charismatic Christian university.
Is that dude like tried to convince Wang Computer Company back in the 80s to give him a bunch of money or God was going to kill him? I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that was an interesting place, and I sent myself there because I was so deep into the um like religious cover up of my queerness. Um and um so I went there for a year. I met my wife there, which is like that's the good result of that year there. Um and then I washed out because I had an academic scholarship and I didn't meet the GPA requirement to keep my um scholarship. So then I moved back in with my parents in Chickasha, Oklahoma, and went to the University of Science and Arts of Oklahoma, which is a um, small liberal arts school. Um, Back then, it was considered very, very liberal. Um, and like, how could the state be funding this? Um, so I like went back to hanging out with people I hung out with in high school who weren't religious. So it was like, you know, rejoining the art club with all the other rejects again. Um, and so I was like hanging out with um this group of creative people. Some of them were out in various ways. Um, some of them would come out later. Um, and it was just like everything was so not judgmental. Um, we just hung out and lifted each other up. Um, that group got me into doing drag. Um, so on one hand, I was still like holding on to this religious thing. Um, and then on the other hand, I was um, in a couple of drag shows that um, I really I had mixed feelings about because it was like I'm getting to do this like feminine costume, but then the costume comes off and um but yeah, I just that was my first time to really have some queer community and I really appreciated it.
So, are you ready to go, Brandon, or you want me to do it?
I mean, I can. I
Okay, go for it.
Mine was in college also.
Oh, okay.
Because like I said, in high school, definitely. Well, at least no gay people that I knew of. Of course, I'm sure there were, but I mean, in our school, nobody would have wanted to come out. Um, so yeah, in college, I started out as a music major, and so obviously there were gay people in that in that major in those classes. But yeah, there were a couple guys that I don't know if we were really friends, acquaintances. We all when you're a music major, you all take the same classes. You know, you're all in the marching band. You all take music theory together, and basically you see these people all the time. And so, but I remember one time I was talking with one guy. I was a saxophone player, and so was he. So we were in the same kind of group,
Really?
and yeah, alto
Oh, we're gonna
sax.
have a chat. We're gonna have a chat later.
I like blowing instruments, but I was walking along with him, and he said something about going to San Francisco, and I said, "Oh, what are you going there for?" And he said, oh, you mean besides being the gay capital of the world? and it just, I was so naive at that time. I didn't know anything about where, what San Francisco was, as far as like how big the like Pride Fest and stuff was there or anything. And I don't know if I even knew for sure that this guy was gay, although it was very obvious. Um, it was the first time anybody had openly admitted that they were gay. I mean, he did. Basically, he did. I mean, he didn't say I'm gay, but you know what I mean. It's
Might as well have.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And he was talking about this other guy that we both knew, Rob, who he said he was looking for a roommate and told me, it's like, hey, you might hit it off and blah blah blah. I'm like, because I wasn't out at that time, and I think I think he knew, and but I was like, oh, I can't do that, no. But yeah, so
Yeah,
that was
I had some out people around me who wanted to kind of help me
yeah, yeah, yeah,
realize things, and yeah.
yeah. I think that's kind of what he was doing, and he wasn't pushy about it or anything, but you could tell that what he was trying to do there. But so yeah, that was my first direct encounter with anybody from the queer community, as far as I can remember.
Okay, well, my story is very funny, like hilariously funny, but still relevant. So, my second year in college, I was the fraternity treasurer, and the rival fraternity president and I hated each other. And the reason that we hated each other is because we were both dating the same girl at the same time. And she liked me because I was sensitive and in touch with my feelings. And she liked him because he would go out and party and get drunk and he was a guy's guy. And not that I was like gay, like out or anything back then, because this was way before that. But when I was in college, I was a very sensitive, thoughtful, introspective person. So I had a friend who we were going to get back at him because the thing that the rival fraternity president and I did was we were pranking each other really bad. You know, he put rock salt in my car's gas tank once, and that really pissed me off. And so it had culminated to the point where his room was the bottom room in the fraternity house, and he always left his windows open. And so Bubba knew a stud leather daddy who danced over at Swinging Richards, which was the gay strip club here in Atlanta off of 17. And he was like a BDSM dom when he wasn't dancing naked at Swinging Richards. And so Bubbles like, we'll call my friend Roger and we'll get Roger to do like a sexy telegram to John's house and they'll let him in and he'll do shit or whatever. And so Roger came over to our fraternity house and sat down and he's like, okay. And he was a much taller than me even and as wide as me black guy. And so he said down, okay, this is how this is gonna work, right? And so I immediately took charge of the conversation and I said, okay, so what are you gonna do to him? And he's like, okay, I sit down and I get him over my knee I'll spank him a few times. And I'm like, go on, tell me, keep telling me more. I want to know more. What are you gonna? And so he goes into this long half-hour like diatribe about how he's gonna embarrass the fuck out of this guy. And the whole time I was just glued. And so at some point, Rainey looked at me and said, "Hey, um, is there something you want to tell us?" And I'm like, "The fuck are you talking about? Are you gay?" No. I just think it's funny and wild and whatever. And so we did the gag. And here was the thing, like I had another friend in the audiovisual department who lent us a video camera so that we could videotape Roger going into his room. And we told him, like, okay, he's like really resistant and you have to be firm with him, but he likes it.
Oh.
He's gonna be bratty and insistent, but you just gotta go with it. And so Roger was like, "Oh, I'll take care of it. Don't worry. I'll make sure." And so they let him in because at the time, John or whatever was in the shower. And so they let Roger into his room. And Roger sat down, took his jump, he had like the blue jumpsuit on or whatever, unzipped it, took it off, had the black harness with the BDSM hat and the cap and the leather jock strap or whatever. He looked super fucking gay and then sat down on the bed and waited. Oh, and then he had the cat of nine tails in his hand and he was doing this shit with it. And so John comes into his room with a towel around his waist. Hunter looks at him and says, "Hey, little boy, why don't you come over here and sit on Daddy's lap? Because we're going to have a little chat." And then John launches into this, "Who the fuck are you? Get the fuck out." "Yeah, I was told you were going to be a little bratty. We're going to stop that." And then they launch into this discussion about who the fuck, why the fuck. And then Roger gets up to go to leave because now Roger was like, "Oh, okay, I see why we were doing this." Takes the cat of nine tails, whimps him on the back of the buttocks, bare buttocks, by the way, because the towel has since come off. And Roger also indicated to him, and I had a video of it, that John had this problem. Like a 3 inches this problem.
Oh.
And so then he left. Well, he came back to our house so that we could pay him or whatever. And I'm like, that was totally worth it. Here you go. And I like literally, I was like, here's $500. Take it out of the fraternity treasury. That was worth it because now I'm going to broadcast that shit in one of the commons. Yeah, one of the commons areas. But then Roger slipped me his phone number and said, I'd really like it if you'd call me. So, and I was like, why? He's like, because there's a lot of things about you I don't think you understand. And I said, I don't believe you. He's like, you don't have to. I think you're in denial. Hilarious thing is, yeah, like not too distant into the future. Turned out that was the case, but yeah.
Did you call him?
Oh, I did. Oh, yeah, I did. Yeah, I did. Yeah, I did. And he was still dancing at Swinging Richards too, by the way. And so he was like, "Come down to the club one night," and I did, and talked to him, and he was really nice or whatever. He was like, I remember college," and I said, "Yeah, that was the thing." He was like, "You were doing that for a joke, right?" I'm like, "Yeah, did you regret that $500?" He's like, "Oh, fuck no." Whatever happened to him, he's a Republican now, lives, up in whatever, Ohio, with his wife and 3 kids, and he's a councilman at the county level or some shit. The last I checked, and he was like, "Too bad you don't have that video." I'm like, "Oh, I still have it. I still have a copy of it. If he ever becomes president, he's gonna hate it.
Yeah.
If he ever becomes president, he's gonna hate it." So yeah, that was like the first person of genuine queer culture that I had interacted with, and yeah, I was in fucking denial. I'm like, "It's not me. Go fuck away. I just want to know
Yeah.
what the fuck, I want to know what the fuck you're gonna do."
Yeah. I so wish I could go back to college and redo that whole thing. I,
So here's a
Yeah.
question, and you know why I'm asking this. You were a music major in college,
yeah,
and you played the saxophone.
I did.
Okay, and what did you get your degree in?
Psychology.
Okay.
No, I ended up with a minor in music, which is pointless, kind of. I mean, you can't really, you know, which most minors I think are. You can't really do anything with them. But no, I s- I was a saxophone. First I was a piano major, and I switched around and I went to the saxophone. But because I'd played the piano since I was in 5th grade or something. I started saxophone when I was in high school, but
Right.
piano is much harder and requires a lot more uh, dedication. So I switched to the saxophone because it was a little easier.
Okay. Well, I have a very important question. Charlie Parker or John Coltrane?
I'm really not much into like blues or jazz or saxophone music at all.
Okay.
I really prefer uh, as far as listening and stuff, I prefer piano music.
Okay. So then who is that? Like, who's your go-to?
My favorite composer is Chopin.
Chopin. Okay. Okay.
I think his music is very emotional.
Yeah, from a musical perspective, I would agree with that. I would clearly agree with that. Um, People sort of laugh. Yeah, I'm a jazz blues. Um, but my go-to, you'll laugh when I tell you who my 2 go-to piano players are. Blossom Dearie is one of them, and Vince Guaraldi is the other. And the problem with Guaraldi is that he died too quickly. Like, he left, um, he left way before he had time to do any serious work. Although most of the serious work that he did, people recognize. So, wow, Gwendolyn, Bach on bass as inspired by Jeff Berlin. That's unique. That is certainly unique. Well, okay. So that paints a very interesting picture, Brandon. You have to you have to promise not to be mad at me on Friday.
Oh no. Are you going to bring a piano into the bar?
There's already a piano in the bar.
Oh, I don't remember reading about a piano.
Yeah, we just need you to come in and lift the cover and play us something.
I'll tickle the iris.
Oh, that's going to be a fun story. And here's one. Here's why. Um, the actual Remy Ledoux, the actual Remy, um, his brother lives in New York and is a Broadway piano player. And so Raymay learned from his dad, because his dad was a jazz piano player. His dad used to play in Reservation Hall over in New Orleans, a whole bunch. And so there's a history there. So I will freely and happily construct a narrative around the two of you in a story, and you have to not be mad at me about it.
No, I wouldn't be.
That might, however, also include a very abbreviated version of Rammy's mom threatening to kill me, which she did, although she admitted later that she did not, but she did. I just didn't end up with a cleaver in the middle of my forehead for asking
Oh, that's always good.
fucking question.
Yeah.
Wendy, Sierra, you're gonna laugh when I tell you this. Not your child. My brother's dog. Don't feel bad about this. My brother's dog. My brother's dog's name is Sierra. Sierra and Cody, actually, are his two dogs. Cody is an Australian Shepherd, and Sierra is a chocolate Labrador. Beautiful brown coat, though, by the way. But a chocolate lab who is like super friendly. Which that's an interesting story to tell you that. So my brother's dog's name is Sierra. So Sierra is, well, let me set this up. So way before Sierra ever came into existence, my dad had two dogs, Tiramisu, and Spike. Now, Spike was like the quintessential super dumb Labrador who, like, Spike understood three things: go, fetch, and lay the fuck down. And that was it. That was all Spike got because he was dumb as nails. You would take him to the dog park, and here's what he would do. There was like a little lake in the dog park. He would grab each toy that was in the dog park, put it in his mouth, run into the lake, chunked it into the lake, and then get all of them in the lake, and then jump in the lake and bark at the other dogs to challenge him to come and get their toys back from him, which he would never allow. So my dad and mother bred Tira one time, and then they did it a second time. So after Tira passed away, like 3 or 4 years later, my dad took one of the dogs from that litter. Turns out it was a chocolate lab. And so, and then the rest of that litter got sold away to other families. So there were 2 more litters out of that family set. And on the 3rd litter in like the 4th generation of that family was Sierra. So my dad owns the great, 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 great granddaughter of his original black lab, Tira.
That's cool.
And so, yeah, there's dogs, or whatever. But so, this just proves my dad is a passionate dog owner. Versus I'm no longer a dog owner, but a cat owner. I would be a dog owner again, but it'd be only one breed I could have. We all know what that is, right? I don't need to tell everybody, right? Oh,
A Pomeranian?
no, 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 a corgi.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
Corgis are
Yeah.
wonderful.
Yeah, corgis. I've only ever owned corgis in my
Oh.
so those are the only.
Wasn't that the Queen's dog, corgis?
Yeah, that was the Queen's dogs, but here's the thing. Corgis are an excellent sheep herding dog and cow herding dog. Do you know why?
Yeah, I think I've heard that.
Yeah, they nip you. Like, if you're not going the way they think you should go, they'll nip the back of your heel to try to steer you in the right direction.
Oh,
I love your pupper, by the way. I don't know that your pupper likes me very much, but I love your pupper.
Say hi, Misty.
Cynthia, if you're an Ellie Mae and you like all pets, you're in good company. All right. I got like 10 minutes and then I got to do this thing. And I'm not excited about it. My anxiety's way high, but for some reason, when people ask me to talk about my professional history, I sort of go off at the mouth for 10 minutes and then I forget about the time and then it goes by okay. But anyway.
Remember to breathe.
Yeah, right. Hey, look, I just where is it? Oh, right. I just took my propanolol, so I just took my beta blocker, so it should be okay. It should be okay. Anyway, Brandon, Miranda, thank you both. Do you have anything else?
No. Well, we'll be talking with Walter tomorrow.
Yes, we're going to talk with Walter Ryan tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Because I think he said 12 CST.
Yeah.
Excellent. I already have my write up for that discussion because we're going to talk about toxic masculinity. So anybody that wants to tune in for that, I think that would be amazing. So neither of you have anything.
I don't think so. Not that I can think of.
Okay.
My only thing is telling people to go read my new poem.
Well,
I read it.
Your new poem's going to get cross posted on Wendy the Druid pretty like later this evening.
Mm-hmm.
I read it and liked it, and I went and watched your YouTube video on it.
And then your My Cats Love Being Movie Stars post.
Oh, yeah.
That's getting cross posted tomorrow on Wendy the Druid.
Tomorrow my article with Corey Vinny will be published in the morning.
Okay, and then I'll get that one on Friday. I will get that one on Friday, but tomorrow at 8:00. Which is you, me, and Eileen of all people. I don't know who that Eileen girl is or why she keeps showing up, but you know. How many words per minute do I type? Miranda has actually heard me type before and can attest that I am a very fast typing person.
I was a fast typer too.
She types fast and she attacks the keyboard when she does it.
Yeah, I sort of figured that. Here's the thing, my keyboard, I'm gonna admit to being a really huge nerd here. My keyboard is the Commodore 64, like looking, I'm that big of a nerd keyboard. And it has to be like a clicky. It has to have click to it, or I can't use it. It's entirely tactile. Like soft keys, I can't touch them. So like the old IBM like 103s from the 80s or whatever, I had like two of those, but you can't use them anymore because that's a 4-pin keyboard versus the USB requirement or whatever. So yeah, I'm very much it's just a feeling.
So you said you don't like touching the soft ones?
No, I don't like touching the soft ones. I like touching the hard ones.
Me too.
Okay. Well, I mean, you're not wrong. By the way, I have to tell you, I'm not going to drop this link, but I literally think, Brandon, that your LinkedIn picture is about the cutest picture of you I have ever seen.
That's the only I did a photo shoot. It's the only one I've ever done, and because I wanted pictures for my like profile and all those kinds of things and professional ones, And
Well, you
Oh,
have
my
you have like
LinkedIn is out of date.
no, like he's got like the dark sport coat on with the white
yeah,
button down, and then the
yeah.
collars are folded down. Like just that's like the cutest picture of you ever. Like I like when did you? How old were you? in that picture?
It's it's a few years old.
Okay.
Not that. I think it was actually in 2020, so it's not that old. But
Okay.
I mean, there was a girl that did my makeup and stuff. So
All right, because your skin appearance is fucking off.
well, it's also black and white, which I love. If I take any kind of photos, I always prefer them to be black and white because they look better.
Yeah, I agree. They look better. They look much better.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah, 6 minutes. Here we go. Don't have a panic attack. Duh. Panicking. Okay. Whew. Yes.
Remember, Wendy, they like you enough that they offered you a half dozen interviews.
Yeah, I got
So,
half a dozen interviews, so there must be something right.
yeah.
Okay. Anyway. All right. Don't hate me later, Brandon. Please don't.
I'll try.
Okay. Thank you both. Back again 7 o'clock. If you want to or not, up to you. Miranda, if you do come at 7 o'clock, I will let you open the show with your poem.
Okay.
I would love for you to open the show with your poem.
That sounds great.
Okay. Love you both.
Love you. Bye.
Bye. Bye.